Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm gonna wish everyone a happy Veterans Day. Both my grandfathers served. I think on this day I want to touch on something about a veterans issue. So let's just get into it. Of course, I want to approach it from a slightly different angle. Um, I feel like we disrespect veterans, just like flat out. Veterans Day, no real fanfare. Don't really have it as a day off for most people. Um, and I think a lot of that now is because, thankfully, America hasn't been involved in a lot of wars lately that have resulted in people dying. I think every other generation in America has had wars where thousands of young men have died. You know what I'm saying? Like, not minimizing Iraq, but in terms of like the American casualties and everything from like Vietnam and World War I and II and the War of 1812, Civil War, in comparison to those deaths, completely minimal. Not discrediting it, though, but like I feel like that just adds to why Americans, have like a slightly less revered sense of veterans. That we haven't had the draft activated in forever. That'll change your tune. I'm saying, about how appreciative you are, if you have to be drafted potentially. Like if you really knew somebody, everyone in America from Vietnam knew at least a person that had personally died. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like having that disconnection really separates us, right? And that can be dangerous. I mean, it's great that we've had peace, but I think it's also very dangerous in terms of a political landscape because people really don't appreciate the realm of peace that we have right now, and more importantly, what it's taken geopolitically to achieve the peace that we have in the world today. Like most people could give two fucks about what that is going on internationally, unless it impacts them. Like, is it making my gas higher? Is it making my eggs higher? Other than that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like most Americans in general they give zero fucks, and they would rather just like be isolationists. And I feel like that lack of appreciation also has like economic detriments that I won't get into. I won't digress. Like with trade, I mean, if you like stability, the America has the number one currency in the world, right? And a lot of that is based upon our allies and who our partners are. Just imagine if certain countries stop accepting the dollar as the number one currency. I mean, like, look it up about what it would do to us. What if some countries stopped trading with us and our credit rating went down, even like from an A to an A minus? What would that do to us, and what would that do to our prices? So like global stability, partnerships, and allies like matter so much. But I digress. And to this appreciation of veterans, and what can we do? What can we do to show our appreciation of the veterans of the past that have really, really made the way for us to enjoy the things that we're having today? And what can we do about those soldiers that are serving today and maybe not being at war, but like they are serving in other capacities to actively keep the peace, to make sure your ass doesn't go into the draft, or you don't know anybody in your neighbor that's being killed because of the shit? One of the ways that the world we have made peace happen for so long are treaties and allies, right? That's like literally how the world goes around. You want to have more allies, so it's less likely that other person will attack you. Hey, if like you're going to attack me, you're going to attack all my homies. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so what's up? So that really makes more peace. If like you have people, like, you don't want to start a whole world war. If it's like there's two countries fighting each other, okay, maybe that pops off. But if it's like, okay, if you fight me, then I'm getting my lines, and then that lines and lines. So like it's really a huge deterrent to have these global alliances. And let's just take the conflict in Ukraine right now, because a lot of people are so fucking ignorant, but it's like, it's because we're taught to be that way, right? There's no like geopolitical things in high school. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to really have an interest in like college. But for Ukraine, long story short, I don't know if any of you know about the USSR. I presume that people knew about that, but that's not something to even say, right? That, for like 40 years, 50 years after World War II, we were basically fighting the Cold War, you know what I'm saying, against Russia, who, it was basically like a arms race, who could get the most nukes, who could influence the most countries. You know what I'm saying? There were certain countries that were going communist and certain countries that were going democratic, and there was literally a race across the world, and all of these proxy wars all over the world. I mean, look up movies from the 80s. Like, everything was about commie this, commie that. Like, look at Rocky, look at Rambo, look at me. There, it's literally like a whole generation. I grew up in the 80s, so like I was just indoctrinated with all this Russia bad, commie, da 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 da. And I think like a lot of the residual stuff is like communism. Like we know nothing about communism, but we know communism equals bad because of all the stuff from post World War II. Like it's just kind of a knee jerk in our minds without even really knowing what that system is. And I say that to say, like, so when the Soviet Union broke up, this is after the United States kind of won the arms race, like we won, yay. And the Soviet Union broke up into several countries. And one of those was Ukraine. And all across all the Russian territories, one of the biggest threats and fears was nuclear weapons, because Russia had all of their nuclears in weapons in all these places that are now new countries. And what is the worst place for global peace? A worse scenario for global peace is not having a centralized control over these nuclear weapons that could literally destroy the world. So America, in a dumb moment, was trying to, make treaties and such and help these new governments, to become stable enough so that they can manage these nuclear weapons. And they signed treaties, one of them being with Ukraine, that if they got rid of their nuclear weapon, that we would defend them. Ding, ding, ding. Big thing. You know what I'm saying? And that's a huge win for the United States. If another rogue post-Russian state doesn't have a nuclear weapon, that is something that is like the long-term benefit of the globe. And it's the only reason we really signed this protection clause for Ukraine. And because we knew at some point Russia was going to try and come back and reclaim its territory. And ding, 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 20, 30 years ago, here comes Putin trying to do it. And we defend them. And I think a lot of people just don't understand that sheer notion that we are honoring a treaty. And if we aren't honoring treaties, who are we? Are you suggesting that we shouldn't honor our word? I mean, is that a political stance that we're saying, like, fuck it? But I mean, hey, small digression. That's the Trump side, right? Isn't that his claim to fame? His claim to fame is like instability. Right? So fuck the treaty with Ukraine. Fuck NATO. You know what I'm saying? I was like, fuck the Iran deal. So what do you think that is doing to not just our country, but our soldiers as we think about this on Veterans Day? We are having alliances and allies so that we don't have to have boots on the ground. Right? So we're able to defend some of our geopolitical things that not only are things that we promise, but things that will give us advantages to today. Right? Helping Ukraine helps us in terms of not only having a military presence, but in trade partners. Ukraine's the #1 grain producer in the world, as all you people are complaining about your grocery prices. So helping then helps us. Right? So, and keeps our soldiers safe. So why on earth are we trying to sabotage this? A lot of people think about the Iran deal that Trump got us out. So we've been trying to get Middle Eastern peace. And lo and behold, look what's happening in the Middle East today. All you people upset about Palestine and saying oh, what's going on? Could it possibly have been, Trump getting out of the Iran nuclear deal that pissed them off? Who is attacking Israel now? Could it be all the Iranian funded proxies? Do you think that they're upset about that? You know what I'm saying? It's you don't think that has immediate ramifications about the world. It's we're not even talking about that. It's oh, the world was safer. No, it was safer. You literally caused why the Middle East is even more upset at Israel and the Americas right now. Right? You did it. You got out of something that was an agreed upon deal that took years. And what does that say for us, for any country that wants to strike a deal with America? How does that keep our soldiers safe? Is that every country knows that, hey, you could get a Republican in office that could just wipe away generations of allies. Like with NATO, that's generations. That's 80 years that you're trying to wipe away over nothing. And you oversimplify the issue because people don't understand how much prosperity it actually gives us, especially if you're talking about short-term economics. If you get out of NATO, you don't think that's going to raise prices to a demographic that really concerned about the price of eggs? It's kind of crazy. You know what I'm saying? But bringing it back to Veterans Day, how can you keep our troops safe? It's to keep them out of war. How do we keep them out of war? Is to uplift our alliances that keep the globe safe, that keeps our troops off the ground. And if we have to spend $1,000, to save each troop, that's not worth it. That's not worth it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, sadly, and with the election of Trump, it just makes me think like suffering is it. Like people won't learn unless they suffer. You know what I'm saying? So it's like maybe kids got like Project 2025 says, hey, the draft is only for public school kids now. Maybe Trump's horrible policies got to get us into a war and some of the babies got to go and fight. Maybe then they'll understand how to appreciate veterans. Maybe then they'll understand to uplift the parties that are for global alliances and allies and, treaties. Maybe that will matter at that point when we actually have a physical touch to how much peace matters. And I pray not. But sadly, that's the lesson that I'm learning. Suffering is it, and then maybe I'll march up on it. So support your veterans, support our allies, support our troops actively, support the VA, and actually show the appreciation for the people that keep us safe. Until next time.